This slidecast is an introduction to navigating the library for your History 3ES3 slidecast project. In lieu of an independent research paper, students are going to have to produce a piece of original research from a list of international environmental summits that were included in your syllabus. Rather than writing a formal essay, your research should be presented in a slidecast format like this, an oral presentation put to slides. A slidecast is basically a marriage of a slideshow and a podcast. Effectively, you're required to make a digital recording of your project overview and select appropriate slides to accompany your voice. Slides can be either photographs you have taken, images found in the public domain, or they can be text-based PowerPoint slides, or obviously a combination of all of the above. The exercise involves communicating history in an alternative medium. The point, or I'm hoping, that this should be an interesting and fun rather than daunting project. In fact, developing a slidecast is surprisingly easy, even for the most technologically disinclined. A very general introduction to Slidecasts is posted on the Avenue to Learn course page as a second step to this Slidecast. More technical directions can be found at the niche website at this URL. Scroll down for links to PC and Mac software help along with a number of more general directions. But be careful how you do this. Slidecast should be submitted on www.slideshare.net, and the link should be submitted on Avenue to Learn, the course page, in the appropriate Dropbox. Because this is a public access site, do not include your student number on your presentation. Do please remember to include your name, and the course number would be handy as well. In addition to the submission of the Slidecast's URL, you should also post a copy of your transcript or script that you put together and are presenting from, and notes on Avenue to Learn by the deadline. By notes, I'm talking about footnotes, bibliography, material, citations in general. Your transcript should include, as I mentioned, your name and student number. Now, the slidecast doesn't need to be a verbatim rendition of the transcript. Reading can result in a particularly boring presentation, but your bibliography should be complete and comprehensive. Presentation counts. Keep it lively, avoid copyright infringement with images, and manage your time effectively. Slidecast should be roughly 6 to 10 minutes and provide a cogent and concise outline of your project, its parameters, and your research. Your slidecast and transcript must be submitted on Avenue to Learn in PDF format by 23:59, that's 11:59 p.m. on Friday, November 26th. Papers arriving by 5 minutes after midnight will be considered a day late and penalized accordingly. Keep in mind that technical problems can occur with online submissions, so prepare for these and complete your work early. Now, while the project's format is unorthodox, this remains a research-intensive assignment. The expectation is that you will have conducted considerable research on your summit by locating and studying relevant primary source documents, summit transcripts and records, newspapers, etc., and secondary literature where possible and relevant. Starting early is essential here. Books not in McMaster's holdings can be ordered through Racer, but this can take time. Saying that they didn't arrive in time is not an excuse for an assignment that's due at the end of the semester. So what follows basically in the rest of this slidecast is a crash course introduction to navigating the library's resources in order to conduct effective research for your slidecast. And the best place to start is obviously the library. Mills Library has an impressive collection of United Nations documents, which are held in the general stacks under the call numbers that start with UN. They're actually, rather than being in the regular stacks, they're in the government documents on the second floor of the library. On the library website, type in the name of your conference, convention, declaration, or treaty, preferably as keywords, to see if anything comes up in the library's holdings. Not only will this bring up the primary documents published during and immediately after the event, which you will need to carefully read and study, but it will also indicate whether any books have been written about it, and these can be very helpful too. If the library does not have a print copy of your summit, you can also consult the United Nations website, which has an extensive collection of its documents. I recommend checking the library first, in large part because it's easier to read off a page than from the screen, but the UN site is worth a look for any other documents that might have been produced. A sub-site of the UN site is the United Nations Environment Program, which we'll discuss fairly extensively in class. This can be a valuable site for more recent initiatives. UNEP, the acronym UNEP, was founded in 1972 after the United Nations Conference on Humans and the Environment in Stockholm. It was one of the key cornerstone international summits for environmental governance. Another valuable resource is the McMaster Library System's online article databases, which contain a treasure trove of secondary source articles published in an almost endless number of scholarly and popular journals. Most students, I suspect, are familiar with JSTOR, and a number of others are probably worth a look for this assignment all the same. Be sure to consult historical abstracts and the social sciences index. Some of these articles will be readily available online. For some of them, you might have to locate print copies in the library, especially for older articles and journals. Others still won't be held at McMaster, but you should be able to request them online. These articles are most likely written by scholars about your topic and therefore give you some valuable contextual information and a sense of how other people have tackled your topic. Remember, of course, that your job is not to regurgitate what others have said, but to develop your own narrative and analysis. Learn from these secondary sources, cite them, but be judicious in how you lean on them. By now, you should have a copy of the published proceedings of your summit and hopefully some books and articles that refer to it. Another valuable place to look is in newspapers, many of which likely reported on these events at the time. Newspaper accounts are therefore primary sources, and they help to flesh out your account. If the only primary voices you are relying on come directly from the published proceedings, you might be receiving a fairly sterile and conservative interpretation of your topic. Journalist reports might help you to look at your topic through another lens. The New York Times now has an online archive which you can search on its site, which is pretty handy, but there are also plenty of other newspapers worth a look. Given the international nature of this project, major newspapers will likely be more helpful. The London Times, The Observer, the Globe and Mail, the Washington Post, Paris's Le Monde, if you speak French. The Manchester Guardian is a traditionally left-wing newspaper that can provide some really interesting analysis as well. They're all worth a look. Newspapers local to a specific event could also be valuable and provide useful insight. And some of these have online archives as well, which again saves you having to do exhaustive research in the library, but the library also has microfilm collections that you can consult. Many also have indexes you can search rather than blindly scouring through weeks and weeks and pages of newspapers. This can save you an awful lot of time if you know exactly what you're looking for and where. Working with microfilm for the first time can be as terrifying as trying to put together a slidecast for the first time, but it's pretty easy to get the hang of. It's also a skill that can help you get research jobs in the history department during the summer and through the semester, so it's a useful researching skill to develop. Rather than going into detail on how to find your newspaper reel, spool it onto the reader, and then find the newspaper account you're looking for, it might be best to encourage you to ask for help at the reference desk, from the reference desk librarians, who are situated now. They used to be on the second floor of Mills. They're now on the first floor of Mills Library by the checkout desk. In fact, they're a valuable resource at every step of your researching efforts. I'm pretty sure there are usually people here at this desk, even though the photograph might not suggest as much. But in general, reference desk librarians are your friends, and they can save you lots of time and energy if you're stuck. So to recap, get started early. Be sure to check the library catalog and article database holdings. Look online for materials at the UN website, but a Google search here and there isn't a bad idea either. Search also for newspaper materials. At the end of the day, you still have to put together a lively, engaging, and intelligent analysis of your summit, but hopefully this brief survey of how to get started on your research will make sure that you have the relevant material on hand. I should stress that the quality and quantity of and exhaustiveness of your research is going to be a big portion of your grade for this assignment. The next slidecast gives you an introduction of what to do with that material and how to turn your notes into a slidecast.